What's going on, guys? Going live right now. We're going to talk about the combine here. We're going to let things fill out. I'm going live here on YouTube and TikTok at the same time. If you're on TikTok, you may want to come over to the YouTube channel. I'm going to respond to comments a lot better there. I'm also checking YouTube real quick, making sure things are firing up. Making sure this live is going because I'm doing this through StreamYard. It looks like it is. It looks like it is rolling. So just waiting for commenters to come in. I do not know if anyone's in here watching. So looks like I got one. Looking up here at top, we got a few people up here on TikTok. So big thing about the combine. The wide receivers did well. The wide receivers came in and they smashed. They smashed big time. It was exciting. We're going to go over the numbers today. But before we do, let me get my spreadsheet ready. We're going to go over some speed scores. I'm going to start off with the wide receivers. I'm mostly excited about that and really want to hammer the numbers with you guys. This is a late night stream. I don't expect it to be popping. Feel free to ask whatever questions you want. Dynasty Fantasy Football, redraft, life, whatever. But I think I'm set up here. I'm going to show the spreadsheet here real quick. Add to stage. There we are. Let me know if this looks good to you, but what I have here is the majority of the wide receivers that ran this week. Height adjusted speed scores, 40-yard dash times, burst score, their percentile among wide receivers. If you got a question about a wide receiver ran and you're on TikTok, you can't see the screen, hit my YouTube link and go to my YouTube channel, hit subscribe, watch the video. But I pulled these from Player Profiler. I had to do that to do the stream because honestly, my spreadsheets kept breaking on me. So I had a spreadsheet. It was the one I use every year. My formula's jacked up for my speed scores. I do weight adjusted, height adjusted, and I get good speed scores that way. But Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to make sure I got this sorted real quick. But I'm going to just talk about Brian Thomas Jr. because he went off. 99 percentile speed score. This is per playerprofiler.com. He went off at the combine. Burst score, 83rd percentile. That's the vertical and the broad jump together. Went off on both those. 38.5-inch vertical and a 10.6 broad jump, 83rd percentile. Again, if you're on TikTok and you want to see the spreadsheet and stuff, hit my YouTube link in my profile and you'll see all the data and information, free information. You can also catch that on playerprofiler.com. But I pulled it from there. My spreadsheet broke, and I wanted to share the combine and cover the combine numbers with you guys. Xavier Legette, another wide receiver I want to talk about from South Carolina. And in the rankings videos, I've been talking about Xavier Legette a lot. And in those, I had him ranked not too favorably. However, since this is a very good wide receiver class, we knew this coming in. I'm very in touch with being fluid with both the running backs and wide receivers in this year's class. Xavier Legette, 6'3", 227 pounds. In the ranking videos that you see on my YouTube channel, I state that, hey, this guy needs to not fall on his face in the combine. He definitely can't do that. He needs to show up at Indy and just blow up that combine. We got that. Official time, 4.39, 98th percentile speed score, 4.39 at 227 pounds at 6'3". The reason why I've been saying that is because he's kind of a rawer prospect. He's more nuanced than what a lot of people say. Like when I talk about Legette, he is more nuanced than what the mainstream makes him out to be on a lot of the websites. When you watch him on tape, he can't break off routes. He wasn't asked to do too much at South Carolina. Just wasn't expected to run a full route tree there. If you see my eyes running all over the place, I'm acting on two different cameras on two different streams. But Xavier Legette, though, I needed him to produce well at the 40-yard dash. I needed him to not fall on his face, and he hit those expectations at a 4.39 40-yard dash. Burst score up there, 89th percentile, and that led from a 40-inch vertical and a 10.6 broad jump. Very explosive, tremendous size along with that, and that's good to see. That is tremendous. That burst score is huge for him. Now we got to see where he goes in the draft. And I don't think he's going to get slept on at all in the draft. I definitely don't think he's going to be a first-round pick. I don't think he's going to be a top-tier second-round pick. But he's a guy you need to pay attention to. He's a guy you need to pay attention to after the draft as well. Because if Xavier Legette develops, steps up his game, or shows a little bit more. He showed a little bit more during the Senior Bowl, especially in those practices. I think it was like the second or third practice. He went off, did a little bit, and broke off some routes. I think it was the third practice. He had a nice catch along the sideline, showcased those hands, showcased what he can do breaking off those routes. Talking about Xavier Legette. But going back here to the numbers and looking at what we're seeing here for these wide receivers. Well, let's go back down here to the board here to Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson from Florida State, 6'6", 235 pounds. Imagine if we moved this guy to tight end. That's one thing I want to talk about. And that was mentioned at the Combine, moving him to tight end. I saw a tweet that they talked to him about that. There's potential there. But Johnny Wilson, we knew this coming into the Combine. I didn't talk about him too much on the channel. I talked about him at other places. I don't know where because I talk at a lot of places, fantasy football and Dynasty. But 6'6", 235 pounds, 4.52 40-yard dash, 98th percentile size adjusted speed score. You got that 6'6" frame, and then 235 pounds. That is nasty. 118.3 speed score. 98th percentile. The burst scores there too. Had a 37-inch vertical. 10.8 broad jump. That is just huge for a guy. 6'6", 235 pounds. And it's been noted at the Combine that they asked him what he thinks about moving tight end. That was mentioned. And I think, remember Darren Waller? He was a wide receiver. He was a wide receiver coming out. And then over some time, he made that switch to tight end. Highly athletic prospect coming out of college. Johnny Wilson's got that size to be able to make that transition. That might be amazing for him. That'd be amazing for fantasy football. That'd be amazing for us. Also, a wide receiver. Not a bad prospect. A good diamond in the rough prospect if he stays there too. Not a guy you're paying up for. Obviously, we got enough wide receivers to pay up for. Moving down to Adonai Mitchell here. Let's talk about Adonai Mitchell because everybody's in love with him right now. He's got a good ADOT. The last rankings video I did, I was talking him up a good bit. I think the one prior to that as well. Adonai Mitchell's got good hands. Gets downfield nicely. You check the tape, he breaks off routes. I will note at the Combine, and it has been noted, that he does take some routes off when the ball's not going to him. And we saw that a little bit at the Combine. Not 100% worried about it at all. Some maybe a little bit that much and was subconscious. But honestly, Adonai Mitchell, I see the goods downfield. I see the ball skills. I think that might be a cultural thing down at Texas. I'm not too worried about it. Let's just say that. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not worried about that type of stuff. I see it on tape, though, and I got to mention it. I do watch film. I'm not just a numbers guy. I think if you follow the channel, you know that. I cover a lot of high school football. I cover a lot of high school recruits. I covered more than 140 high school recruits on the channel so far this year. What's up, Toronto Dave? Look who it is. Toronto Dave's the man. I'm going to give him a shout out. I met him up in Canton just about 2 years ago. Cool dude. But Adonai Mitchell, not too worried about it. You're going to have to draft him. Superflex wise, first round. He's going to be there middle to late somewhere. Really depends on what goes on with these wide receivers. I better be worried about Texas. I don't hate Texas. I'm not worried about them because I don't mind Texas. I might do, they're Power 5 and a prestigious Power 5 school, but the new NCAA game, I might mess around with them. I actually thought about rolling up NCAA 06 right here and just busting out some Jamal Charles, making some vids on that. The thing is, the PlayStation 2 is a little bit slow on uploading stuff, and it just takes so long to create content. And if I live streamed it, I catch copyrights because the soundtrack on NCAA 06 is amazing. It's amazing. The soundtrack, if you don't remember to this game, it's got actual music to it, not just the college bands. I was heavily thinking about doing like a Jamal Charles run for the Heisman or something, just making a storyline. I did it with Reggie Bush last year, and I did it to mess with some editing. I thought about doing that. I don't know. I might still do it if I catch some time. That's one thing. But I actually kind of like Texas. I like watching them play. The thing is, I like this game so much. There's not many players or teams I don't like just because I'm just so interested in the storylines. That's why I'm yelling so much when I'm on camera. Plus, I keep the microphone so far away. But Adonai Mitchell, I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about him at all. I think you're going to have to draft him in the first round. I think we got plenty of upside with him. And like I've been saying, I like the ball skills. I like how he can separate downfield. Tremendous route runner. Big play guy even at Georgia. And then Cornelius Johnson. Let's just move on down. We'll talk about all of them. How about that? We got all night. I might have to get a drink. But Cornelius Johnson, another Michigan wide receiver, probably was underutilized, right? Like Nico Collins. 205, 23 years old, 4.4 40-yard dash, 94th percentile speed score. Just hiding at Michigan, right? We got some size. We got some speed. We got a good burst score, 80th percentile, 37-inch vert. Harbaugh makes me upset for Nico Collins for sure. For sure. Again, if you're on TikTok live stream, you're watching, you want to look at the charts that we're covering here, just click the link in the bio. Come on over. You'll get a good look at that. But, man, Nico Collins, Cornelius Johnson, I'm not doing a comparison, but I am doing comparison to the situation there. And, yeah. But Rome Odunze, I think the dude's still trying to run the 3-cone there. Like, he's still running it. Like, he just kept running it like 50 times yesterday. It was heavily noted on the broadcast that he just kept making attempts trying to beat his time. Good 3-cone, by the way. I don't have that listed here. I threw this spreadsheet together really quick. 6'3", 200, 4.45, 40-yard dash, 93rd percentile. Good burst score. He did well at the combine. The thing is, when you think about those top 3 wide receivers, and people argue about them a lot, like, when I think about those top 3 wide receivers, like, if you walked in this room right now, you stood right there, and you're like, Bruce, I got Rome Odunze as my wide receiver 1. And I look at you, and I'm like, okay. And then I think back to the fall. We were watching Rome Odunze play. He was going off. He was looking good. He was explosive. That's when I liked him the best because it wasn't really that cool to like him. Pac-12 after dark, you're watching him play. He's being explosive, making those big plays, getting downfield. That's when I liked him the most. I don't like players when it comes cool. I don't hate them, but when it comes cool to like them, I kind of like cool off a bit. That's probably the best way to say it. I kind of cooled off from him. I don't talk about him too much. I do like him a lot. I do. But when I think about those 3, you're really just looking at odds of how likely they'll hit. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has good odds. I think Malik Neighbors has good odds. I think Rome Odunze has good odds. I think all 3 of them. Like, I think the most confusing thing about this class is from a macroeconomic perspective here is that we're not used to having this many good wide receivers. We're not used to having this much talent at the top. We're not used to having it all down the middle and in the back half. And if we'll have some busts in between there. And then we'll have some of these bottom tier guys do some stuff. And then if somebody here at this top tier, kind of like at the top towards that middle tier, will probably go off. And there'll probably be like a big red flag in the first round. You'll try to guess it till you're blue in the face. But a lot of these players, the metrics standing out and stuff, also fits. Some of these players with the red flags, that red flag goes away if they get paired with Patrick Mahomes. Rome Odunze, I like him. I like him a lot. And I have him up there. Honestly, my 3. I think if you watch the channel and you watch the rankings videos, you know my 3. You know it very good. But my 3 is Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., depending how I wake up that morning. And I've been saying that all along. And then Romo Dunze, just right there in his own tier. And then I got Brian Thomas Jr. right now is nipping Romo Dunze's heels in that next tier. And that next tier had Brian Thomas Jr., if I remember last Monday, Brian Thomas Jr., Adonai Mitchell, and Xavier Worthy in it. It had those three, if I remember right. My brain's not perfect. I feel that that's where my tier's at. When I put players in the tiers, you got to understand that I'm the type of person that, depending on how I wake up that morning, things might be a little bit different. And tiers just work for me. Ranking players in a straight line just doesn't really make any sense to me personally, because I'm the type of person that's very fluid from day to day. And I might go Brian Thomas over Romo Dunze, even though I have one kind of ranked ahead of another, just because I woke up different that day. But when I have guys in the same tier, those guys are ranked really close. So if you look at guy in the front, guy in the back, that guy in the back on a random Tuesday will probably be on the front. And the random Wednesday, that guy in the middle will be up front. And that's just how it is. Going back to the spreadsheet here, I like flipping things around to keep your guys' eyes interested. Let's go to Vontez Walker here. Tez Walker, North Carolina. A lot of people love this guy going in Toronto Dave's tier 1 for sure. But going into the process here, watching Twitter, I talk about the market a lot. I got a degree in economics, micro, macro economic theory. I use it for fantasy football, and I'm actually pretty good at that stuff. But judging the market for Twitter, a lot of people love this guy watching the tape. I watched the tape, and I watched the Twitter of people talking about the tape on him. A lot of people loved it. And we get to the Senior Bowl. It doesn't go good. But look at him come back and do well at the Combine because he's got speed. He had a good 8-out, 4.36, good speed score, 89th percentile, good burst score as well, 98th percentile, 40.5-inch vert, 11-12 broad. He's 6'3", 200 as well, right there. Looking solid. Drop some balls at the Senior Bowl. It's probably sticking with some people. But when you watch Tez Walker, and you just think about fantasy football, you just think about that. You think about when we're in week, we're going game by game, and we're projecting out to these players. We're projecting out to their outcomes, seeing what's going to happen. He gets a good 8-out. He stretches the field. Landing spot's going to matter for a situation big time because he projects as a field stretcher at the next level. Big time. That means, think about that profile. You're thinking 8-out. You're thinking upside, splash weeks. Everything has to go into pattern, though. He's got to get the right system, right quarterback. He's got to have a pathway to get those opportunities. But the cost, you're not paying a first-round rookie pick. You might pay latter part of the second round. We're seeing that in mock drafts. I did a mock draft, or I received a mock draft. I read it off. What I'll do is I'll receive a mock draft. I've been doing it for 3-4 years on the channel now. I was actually one of the first channels to do Dynasty mock drafts on YouTube, like OG right here, and then everybody kind of copied. I used to soak up all the views on that. But I got sent a mock draft. He went 208-ish, somewhere around there, last one. You could see that. Might be a little cheaper now. Might be because a lot of wide receivers went ham on Saturday. And that could shuffle the board in the draft, but right situation, right place, right draft capital. But just looking at the prospect profile here, 40.5-inch verts, just the numbers just stand out with Walker here. Walker is just, he killed it. Again, a lot of people are soured on the Senior Bowl. A few drops at an all-star game isn't going to make me not want to draft them. Everything's at cost. I think the upside there could be grand in the right situation. We'll have to see. We'll have to look. I'm going to go down to Brendan Rice here. Brendan Rice, come on down. Brendan Rice was fun at the Senior Bowl. He's always fun, right? He's always fun. Brendan Rice, very assertive route runner. That guy's very aggressive running routes. Very aggressive at the Senior Bowl. Probably one of the most assertive wide receivers. Javon Baker was very assertive at the Senior Bowl as well. I'll talk about him here soon. But 6'2", 208. So we got some length and some size. 21.9 years old. Age is okay. 4.5 40 time. 78th percentile. It's not horrible. Burst score, 51st percentile. 36.5-inch vert. So, yeah, average. 36 is average. I always thought of it as average in my head. So, the burst score, that and the broad jump. That being said, Brendan Rice could be a sneaky play. And it has to be at cost. And I imagine the way this draft went, we haven't drafted yet. The combine went with these wide receivers and then the running back stepping up. Brendan Rice might got diluted down a little bit in rookie draft value. I'm expecting that. I'm expecting him to get diluted down. I expect him at cost to be a good value. We got to see what the NFL says. We got to see. Xavier Worthy lit things up. And the internet's drawing a lot of John Ross comparisons. They sure are. You know what? Let's flip this around. Let me show you guys something here real quick. Let's go up to my next tab. Boom. I hope you guys stayed because I got more goodies here in the spreadsheets. But we'll go over more on this. I got some market share for you guys. And I really want to talk about Xavier Worthy. I forgot his name for a second. He should be at the top here somewhere. There we go. Right there, Xavier Worthy. Look at the green here at age 18. It's him and Jacob Cowing. It's those two wide receivers. We're talking about a Power 5 wide receiver breaking out at age 18 and coming out of high school. Nobody listen to this garbage. Laugh out loud. So, 36.27% market share for Xavier Worthy. Broke out early in his collegiate career. We knew this coming out of high school, though. Like a 10.5 track time on the 100. 36.27. And we kept it going into a sophomore season, junior season, 25%, 24%. And then you'll look at John Ross's numbers because that has just been brought up to too many times I've seen on all the other social media platforms. I did TikTok on it that he did not break out or didn't do anything really till his final year of college, his fourth year. Older prospect. We all know older wide receivers, late production values aren't great. So really the markers here when you look at wide receivers, and it's not new, I'm not saying anything new, is draft capital and then production. And then from there, you break it off into age-adjusted production and you just kind of funnel it down. And then when you come back and you look at the athleticism scores, that's like the cherry on top. It's the cherry on top, along with the tape. But Xavier Worthy killed it. 4.21, 40-yard dash. Speed scored 77th percentile. You don't understand why it's like that? It's because of his weight. It's adjusted per size. Again, if you're fast and big, you got a better speed score. If you're small, you should run fast. If you're small, you got to run fast. If you're $160 and you're running 4.6, 4.5, it just ain't going to happen. It ain't going to work. You can't compete in the league. You can't be on the outside. You're going to get jammed up. You can't win with the burst and speed on the outside. Why put you in the slot? Because you're not twitched up enough. Like, you just can't compete. So your burst score is going to be a little bit lower. But 160, you got to be fast. But again, his 40 time in general, 100th percentile. 100th percentile, 4.21. I don't think you really need the speed score. I think when you look at 4.21, you just use common sense. Again, it's weighted on your size. So if you're confused why it's not 99%, it's because these are some bigger dudes running in the 4.3s, 227 pounds, running anything in the 4.3s, low 4.4s. is going to get you up here in that range. And that's just how the numbers work. But again, it's just a percentile off the size, adjusted athleticism. The burst score, percentile, I lost it. Or it wasn't there. 41-inch burst, good broad jump. Looking at those numbers, I imagine his burst score is going to be a little higher there. But that 41-inch burst, 41-inch vertical lets me know he's got tremendous burst. And we'll see it off the tape. Let's just talk about the tape here with Xavier Worthy, because this guy's got speed. He gets downfield. He's got a good release package. We see him creating separation off the break. I'd show it to you guys, but I'd catch a copyright. That's why I cover high school film. That's why I got to do it, to be honest with you guys. I get on here, and I got to talk about the prospects, but I can't really cover the tape. We'll catch a copyright, and then it dings the channel. No one views because they're not going to push it, and then two, you can't make any money off of it. And then if I try to put it anywhere else, like, I don't even know how to do that. But Xavier Worthy has got some skills. He's worthy of getting some draft capital. Where do you guys think he's going to go in the NFL draft? Xavier Worthy. He lit up the combine. Usually wide receivers who do this, they get vaulted off the board. They get vaulted up there. I see him in a lot of mocks being that guy who goes in the back of the end of the first round, going to the Chiefs a lot. Also been seeing Adonai Mitchell doing that a lot. I think things are going to change. I'm hoping late first as well, too, Toronto. Hoping late first. I'm feeling late first. I'm feeling first somewhere. I'm feeling first. Early. He's not falling. He's not falling. We got the production metrics. We got everything hits with him. Everything's been hitting with him. Let's move down here. I got a guy that I feel like is going to be a tremendous value here in drafts. He's got good numbers here at the combine. Not outstanding, of course, because we're working down the spreadsheet. That's common sense. But Ricky Pearsall, his hands are sticky. His hands are sticky, and did you watch him in the drills? Yeah, there's a ton of wide receivers that could go late first. And that's the thing about this class. It's the good thing. It's just something we're not used to, having this many good wide receivers. I mean, they're fast and productive. And the second round's going to be stacked at wide receiver. That's just how it's going to be. I don't know who Jordan Vanek is. I like Pearsall. I've been liking him more when I've been looking at him at value and cost. And then seeing what I saw at the Senior Bowl at him. I saw someone do a mock draft with him in the second round. I saw that on Twitter. Hey, thank you, Master Nate. Thank you for the tip jar. I love it. $1.99. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is my first live stream, by the way, since in season. I tried to do another one off OBS. My OBS system on here on my laptop. And then there was just too much of a delay between the chat and me talking for me to keep up with things. But, yeah. Going back to Ricky Pearsall. Thinking about him in Dynasty rookie drafts, I look for him to be that prospect. If we're not slamming running backs in that area, which we might not, third roundish. I don't think we're looking at him in the fourth round. I think too many people's talking him up. I think he's one of those prospects we're going to be looking at. But I did see someone mock him in the second already. Like, I thought he was being slept on. And it's just so many wide receivers did well that no one's really being slept on. He's already getting mocked to the second round by folks. And I would say middle tier media, not big time media. I don't remember. But I look for him to be a guy that you want to click that button on. Moving on down to Lad McConkey. Honestly, I was surprised. With him. 4.39 40-yard dash, 98.8 percentile speed score. 68 percentile speed score. Remember, the size doesn't really. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that too. You know what? When it comes to the drills, I'm not super worried about drills. Like, also, Adonai Mitchell had a couple routes where it looks like he wasn't 100% into it. I'm not super into the drills. A lot of the drills, too, I was filming during it. So what happens is a guy will run, like the whole group will run their 240s. I run back here, and I'll shoot 4 or 5 videos straight. Run back to the couch. Watch the rest of the workouts. Edit them up. Make the thumbnails. That's why all the thumbnails look the same, and that's why everything says the same. I had 2 templates. Failed and elite, and everything it's because of that. And then I had to make them fit for that, even if they weren't exactly fitting, just so I can be able to get it out. And it was just a live reaction on how it initially felt during that time after watching them run their 240s. Some of them I actually remembered in my head what those 40s looked like. I did see that. I'm not super worried about that. I'll let the NFL tell me if I should be worried or not about that or not during the draft. I still feel solid about him going in the first round. I still feel solid about Mitchell. I think remember seeing who else I remember seeing having trouble in drills. He had a little issue in drills. Franklin. Franklin had a couple issues as well in some of his drills. Yeah, there's too many good wide receivers. And they just keep rolling. I got more to talk about. That's the crazy thing. Like Franklin here. I was just talking about him. But Franklin, where's he at? Right there. Troy Franklin. Like, he's so low on the list on the size adjusted speed score, though. But 4.41 40-yard dash, solid. Burst score, that's still solid. 39-inch vertical. Like, this, any other class, he'd be more like up in this range. They don't stop. They keep rolling. And it's a good thing. We're blessed with these good wide receivers. The thing is, it's going to create some pitfalls for us because not all of them are going to hit. But a lot of them probably are. A good bit of them. This is going to be like 2014 class on steroids. Maybe not on steroids. It probably, once the dust settles 3 years from now, it'll be probably very similar. They'll probably be like that. You'll probably have... And usually when you get a bunch of... Yeah, I could definitely see that. Part of it's fit. Part of it is I'm not expecting him to be a wide receiver 1 for his team. I am expecting him to have a good amount of upside. I expect him to be in a situation, or hopefully in a situation, where he can get some ADOT week to week. I'm expecting him, for his team to draft him, wanting to utilize that speed, and I'm expecting him to get that draft capital where they got to put that initiative early in his career. He's also very young. That's another good thing. The number 1 wide receivers, those are the top guys. I expect a lot of these guys to come in and fit in with their team and share a lot of the workload too. Like I was talking about Ricky Pearsall, I think he'd be a good complement wide receiver. Tez Walker, good ADOT guy, week to week, especially when you're looking at fantasy. Not a guy you're really going to rely on as a wide receiver 1. We got a lot of good stuff like that. We got some of those guys who have that in their profile that could sneak up on us, because that could definitely happen. Roman Wilson's got some goods in his game, but you can also see him being a good complementary guy, not the number 1, or maybe just the 1B or 1C even in his offense. Like, the NFL game is more spread out, more about getting separation, having multiple wide receivers on the field. Javon Baker's got some upside, but he's also going to be at a good cost. Javon Baker, there's a lot of people that love him, and I like him a lot. The thing about Javon Baker, when I look at him, is I go back to the Senior Bowl, and whenever someone went up to Javon Baker and they said, hey, hey, what do you think about those 50-50 balls? What's going through your head? He gets mad because you called him 50-50 balls. He gets mad at that reporter and says it's 100-0 and it's all his. He gets legit mad. If you can find one posted in the archives of Twitter, there's a couple of them. Every single time he gets fired up. He is very assertive. Played at Alabama, played with those type wide receivers, and then went over to UCF. We did some things. We had some good production. 208, 22, 454 though. 37-inch vert. I mean, the numbers ain't bad. There ain't many bad numbers on here. Like going to Keon Coleman. I got a lot of people fired up on that one. That was funny. And he honestly did not have that bad of a combine. He honestly didn't. He excelled in the burst numbers. 38-inch vert, 10.7 broad. He did all right there. The 40, his official number of 4.61. I think that first run and that second run, those unofficial ones, was like 4.64, something like that. I do worry about his separation. But a lot of people we'll just say he can't separate. But when I look at Keon Coleman, I watch him on tape, there is instances where he can. And he can show nuance. He can break off routes. That's in his repertoire. It is there. It's just not there too often. But it's possible. But the thing about Coleman, and the thing about when I rank him and when I think about him, it's like, this is a guy that if you say too much negative stuff about him, put that out in the ether, put that out in the universe, all he has to do is go in the right spot, right fit, and he'll hit. But if he doesn't go to one of those ultimate fits, it's might be not looking good for a production standpoint. I think he's a good wide receiver. I think he's great at the catch point. He's strong at the catch point. Yeah, he's got good game speed. I like him at the catch point. He's very strong there. Very solid. Ran 20 miles per hour in the gauntlet. Not a bad combine at all. It's decent speed score. I think any other year we'd like that more. And it kind of blends in or dilutes down with these wide receivers here. Kind of does. Malik Washington coming down here. 42.5-inch vert. Jacob Cowing, early breakout age. 36-inch vert. Yeah, I like Adonai Mitchell over Coleman. I'm with that. I like Adonai Mitchell over Coleman, Brian Thomas, Rome Odunze, of course, Worthy. And then after that, of Franklin, I got the names blurred up. After that, there's a lot of pushes. And after that, too, was those wide receivers. A lot of them. It's a lot of fits. I want to go over this real quick. Go back to here. Breakout age on the market shares. I also have yards per team pass attempt. I just don't have them highlighted in like broken out or anything like that with colors. But if you hit 20% or more the first year you do it, I highlight it in green. So your first year will have a number there. If you didn't play, you get an X. So like Marvin Harrison Jr., age 20 breakout age. Malik Neighbors broke out at age 19, 26.98%. Franklin broke out at 19. Coleman broke out at 19 at Michigan State. That's a big thing to know. The thing about Coleman's production metrics is they're not horrible. He almost broke out with 2 different collegiate programs. That's huge to note. Typically, I'm a big fan of players that do that. He was close. He was like 1.31% away from that. That's crazy. That's good. I like that. I also like the age 19 breakout age at Michigan State. I like that. Jalen McMillan is a tactician. We broke out at age 20 here. There was a lot of hype during this era for Devy. You have to remember old Devy hype. Sometimes that translates. Sometimes that old Devy hype, those old Devy wide receivers hit, but a lot of them also fade away. Brian Thomas. This was his only year of breaking out. Also LSU, but still something to note and think about. Roman Wilson. I mean, it's Michigan. The thing is with Roman Wilson, you see it on tape. You see the speed. You see all that stuff. But the thing about him, and really think things through here, is what if it was just people too in love with the Senior Bowl? A lot of people go to Mobile. They're super excited, and they overtalk him up. That's the thing here. But we see goods on tape. He breaks off routes. He did look good at the Senior Bowl. We watched the practices. We went over those. But you have to look at everything. I'm one of those people that you'll think I hate a player, and then I have him ranked 1 because I'll talk about the good and bad. Malachi Corley. One thing I saw about him is they were talking about or asking him, or it was mentioned about him going to the running back. He was jacked up in size. He's a thick dude. Projects well as a slot that can get you some yak. 2 good years of productivity here at wide receiver. I'm very curious to see what the NFL thinks about him. There's a lot of people that really love him, and that's after the Senior Bowl, and I could understand why. But there's so many wide receivers to love. Jalen Polk. I'm not going to lie. What do you guys think about Jalen Polk? Yep, Steve Smith. Yep, him too. Him too. He talked about. I saw that. It's also that, and the people who go down to Mobile, they get excited because they get a vacation and look at these players, and hyperbole just comes out of some of the people who go there. And I usually got to take that with a grain of salt. But Malachi Corley has been I think I got him in some Devy leagues. I think I got him like right around here in this era. I think I did. Especially some of my deeper leagues. I think I picked him up. I think I got him on some rosters. Jalen Polk, though, I'm oscillating with him. There's one day I like him and one day I don't. Somewhat intrigued, on your radar. That's probably how I'm feeling. But with my words coming out of my mouth, doesn't stand out to you. Yeah, I mean, you just look at the productivity here. It's like nothing, kind of something here, and we're in the red here for 21 years old, older prospect, hitting. But also think of how he wins on the field, ADOT, gets deep downfield, week to week, or maybe a splash play guy at the next level. Maybe that. Maybe develops into that. I definitely don't see him having the odds of, I mean, if you really think about his game and how things work, I mean, he does have good ball skills, but like you really see him like really pushing these guys, production really. I mean, it's hard to really imagine that. Maybe there's a role where he can be somewhat valuable in fantasy. It's also going to be super cheap. He's also going to be super cheap in drafts. That's the thing about him. Jalen Polk's going to be super cheap. We're looking at Adonai Mitchell again. Remember, we had that stint at Georgia. Texas, we got 20.88% market share. Tez Walker. We looking at Lad McConkey. Yeah. Sometimes these players, they just go so cheap that yeah, Malik Washington. Let's go back to that. Malik Washington. Because I think I was talking about him just a few minutes ago. That vertical there, 42.5 inches, explosive. Also, East-West Shrine game. He was catching a lot of buzz there, breaking off routes good. A very interesting prospect. We're at 5'9", but still, we got some speed there. And you look at the percentile versus that, I'm not too worried about it because we're at a good number to where we can compete. A good burst score, 97th percentile. You watch him on tape. He's got some numbers to him. He's going to be one of those guys in the latter part of drafts that's just going to be one of those play. There's a couple of them you see there. I think Pearsall's going to jump up, but Malik Washington's going to be a little cheaper. He's going to be that guy that if you're really in the know, you're going to be smashing that button on him. Let's move on to running backs. Let's see here. Bam. Right there real quick. Very interesting running back class. And when you look at the running back class, a lot of people are going to be like, man, it sucks. This running back class sucks. When I look at this running back class, I see a lot of opportunity for values. You know what? I like that for the 10 team. 80 Ladd in the second round. I definitely see that. 80 would probably be in the second round. He might push a little bit more. Really depends on how much hype he gets, where he goes in the draft. He was getting a lot of hype yesterday. That might fade away, though, soon. So Rice in the third. He is a guy that I'm looking at in the third, one of those third-round wide receivers. Definitely. I think your strategy is looking solid there. Trey Benson, 4.39 40-yard dash, 216 pounds. We got some production at Florida State. We got a good speed score. We got a burst score at 47 percentile, 33.5-inch vert. A lot of people have him at RB1. There's a lot of people that don't like him at all. I'm very fluid with this class, and when it comes with the running backs, I got my own strategy, and that it is just being fluid, looking at fits, taking values. I'm in a 1 to 2 year window, mostly 1 year window. That extends out to 2. 3 years is just a long time for a running back to really prospect out to. Yep, the vision. And it's just there's those clips where you see him extend out the play, miss the hole here, and it's just still extending it out. You got those instances and stuff. But the size, the burst, if he gets a pathway, the opportunity, maybe one of the top tier offensive lines, we might catch a hitter. Yeah. If he leans in that upside, it's going to be massive. I mean, you're 216, 439. Draft capital is going to matter. Opportunity is going to matter. What's around him is going to matter. And then we got a guy like Jalen Wright. And you can just tell by the tape. The high school numbers, he was running in the 10s and the 100. I did that video on him because I knew he was going to hit, and I knew it was going to end up. It didn't run too well in clicks, but still. Burst score, solid. Speed score, solid. Vert, solid. Again, not the perfect running back. But still, you got some size, you got some speed. Could be a good meat shield at the NFL level, a running back that they just slam touches with for a little bit throughout the season. Get some run, get you maybe some production. That might be – there's going to be a run at the running backs in the second round. There's going to be a huge run at the running back position in the second round. We see a lot in the mock drafts, and usually it's like the 203, 205 range. Maybe one will go like 201, and then you'll see like 3 running backs go in 3 of the next 4 picks, and there's this little range here. And then after that, in the back half of the second, you'll see a cluster of wide receivers, and it's usually like a Lad McConkey or like one of the other wide receivers who has decent metrics here, who's probably getting draft capital that you're catching at a value. I think Marshawn Lloyd, I don't know how much his stock went up with the market. I'm trying to gauge that. It seems like people were so enamored with Wright, Benson, and the wide receivers. I'm not hearing too much chatter about him. And he might be in the latter part of the second, early part of the third from what I'm trying to guess from what I'm reading. The market matters because that dictates the price. The price is there, looking good. You look at the production metrics, him catching passes at USC, it's not extensive. You look at him at the Senior Bowl, he's looking good at catching passes, but we're at 220. We're on a 4.46, 93rd percentile speed score. Burst score is a little more than average. We're looking good here. Marshawn Lloyd at value could be a good bet to make. I mean, you're not going to be out if he doesn't hit. You're going to get good upside here. 93rd percentile speed score. could be an interesting, especially against that draft capital. That's going to be huge for him. Blake Corum going down to here. I felt like he did. All right, let's see here. So I like Brooks. I got him as one of my top running backs. I like him especially for the next year. I'm not expecting him to hit year one out the gate. I'm expecting to see a little sizzle maybe in the latter part of the season. Maybe get some touches. Maybe start the year off in the pup. Estimate and Braylon not running the 40 is a major red flag. Had a lot of benefit from the 40. That means he's not even on this list. I like him due to the age. The size is fine. The fact that he didn't catch many passes on his career, and the offense changed to more pass-heavy offense. So really, a lot of that's kind of by default. Honestly, with him, I'm not super excited about him. But one thing I would think about with him, and I'm just being fluid with the class because that's my strategy with the running backs, because it's a weird class. It's going to do weird things. They're going to go weird places. If he goes to a place I like, then I'll bump him up a bit. But I'm really not going to be over the moon with him either. I'm going to just be very Bayesian with him. So looking at Garendo, he's got some speed. I watched his tape. That offensive line for Louisville was rough on some of the tape I watched. I'm not going to lie. I have not even looked at my TikTok stream for a bit. I don't know if people are watching. It'll say a number and it'd be off by a lot. I watch a lot of that tape. That offensive line did him dirty. So much, it's really hard to see that speed. That's the thing about that. He looks like he's got good feet. He's got good balance. He looks like he's got good size and pop on him. I probably have to go to highlights to really look at him. Watching the tape play to play, that offensive line did him very dirty back there. But I can definitely tell or have some indications of where this amazing combine comes from. I can definitely see that. And he looks like a guy. He is that guy. He's that running back that we're looking at in the latter part of the draft, and we're just taking that gamble on. Because if he jumps the depth chart, gets the opportunity, yep, I remember hearing that at the combine. I remember hearing that. Very from wide receiver, should be able to catch passes. Get that ball in the flat to that guy with a burst score like that. And the speed score like that, and the size adjusted athleticism. And trains with Jonathan Taylor. Or used to, at least. I would say at cost, if I got Antonio Gibson out of him, considering where he's probably going to go in rookie drafts, I'd be happy with that. At cost, of course, I'd want more. But I'd say at cost, I'd be happy with that. I think that'd be pretty cool. He's a guy that you got a third-round pick, fourth-round pick, and you're looking at these running backs. I mean, we know this running back class is not super deep. So how many running backs are you going to be excited this year drafting in the third and fourth round, honestly? Looking at his production metrics, I'm looking at his tape here. I can see where the athleticism kind of sticks in there. He's a guy that I'd take some gambles on, especially as this wide receiver class thins out. Kendall Milton was a high-end prospect coming out of high school, and man, early on in his career, from a few carries and stuff, you thought, man, this guy had some upside. You get excited about him. There's also these random Georgia running backs. They just don't hit sometimes in the combine. Who was that one? Holyfield. Elijah Holyfield. Man, he looked like just a hammer. When I think about Elijah Holyfield and think about how he looked on tape and how assertive and aggressive he was at the point of contact, and I think about his bloodline was his dad, Evander. Dude probably should have went to MMA. Just looking at his build. Probably should have. If you notice back there, you got the Spider Silva. I met him once. Pretty solid guy. I met him one time at the Arnold Classic. I think that was this weekend. Didn't go because I had to do the combine. Watch that. But the Arnold Classic, if you ever get a chance to go to that in Columbus, Ohio, and you're into weightlifting, health, fitness, or anything like that, that is a good time. Free supplements galore, like free samples, like in all the booths. You meet just about any bodybuilder you want to meet. There'll be different autograph signings. I got one here, right here. AJ Hawk, I met him. AJ Hawk's grandpa was friends with my grandpa. His grandpa was friends with my grandpa. They'd eat together on random Sundays. His cousin, I went to high school with. Not far off. And then, let's see, what else I got here? That's it from the class. No, wait. I met Larry Fitzgerald at the Classic. It's right down here. I met Larry Fitzgerald. Also met Cadillac Williams. That's down here at the bottom. I'm not even really showing it. I have Troy Aikman starting lineup on it. I met them at the Classic. It used to be EAS would have these autograph signings. And I think I got Ronnie Brown, too. This was back in the day. And then AJ Hawk had his own. And they'll have their random autograph signings of players. And you'll go to them. And EAS had their own booth there. Hasselbeck was there, too. I remember that. I don't know where that autograph is. I don't know. I lost that one. It's somewhere here. But they'll just have the athletes lined up. At that time, they were NFL players. Got Fitzgerald down there. But going back to the spreadsheet here, it's honestly not super deep class, but it's also, when you think about this class as at a macro standpoint, let's see, let's sort this out by big. Let's sort it out by the big. So Braylon Allen, 235. Mayan Williams did not run at the combine. But I'm from Ohio State country. Talking about Mayan Williams, the thing about him, though, very gritty, lunch pail running back. 5'9", 229 pounds. I'm going to go do this so you get something else to look at. 5'9", 229 pounds. We got size. Goal line back. You're not going to expect him to catch a lot of passes. You're not going to expect him to be a super fast guy. You're not going to expect him to really win with a ton of He's the lunch pill guy. He's going to see the hole, get to the hole, get through the hole, get you a little bit more than blocked. Very stout runner. Held it down for Ohio State for a bit too, especially when Henderson was out. Like a silent workhorse for them. And a guy that's probably going to be late in the draft, late in rookie drafts. And it's not me talking him up. It's me saying, hey, this could be a guy that could be a flyer for you. And that's it. He's a flyer that I wanted to point out. He didn't run at the combine. He didn't do that. But there's some opportunities with him if you're looking for a stash play, 4th round, 5th round, however deep your draft goes. I wanted to point him out. He did not run at the combine. Nobody's really talking about him. But I wanted to talk about him a little bit. Audric Estime. He's had some good runs this year for Notre Dame. He had some deep runs. That's the thing about him. He's a big back, 221 pounds. 4.71 though. 4.71. He's got good vision. He's got good power. Burst score. Look at that though. 87 percentile, 38-inch verts. You got that, but you got that. You got that, but you got that. He's a guy that you look at these numbers, and you knew he wasn't going to kill the combine on the 40. That's just not his game. That's just not where he's at, right? We know that. It's not like we're completely dumbfounded. But when you think about the combine as an interview, as a test, how would you feel if you ran a 4.65 versus that 4.71? How much better would you be feeling if it was a 4.66 even? Just by looking at the numbers and your bias towards how the numbers look at versus a 4.71. How many running backs in the league that we see roll up, be productive with a 4.71? 8.98 speed score, 28th percentile. Not that many. Really not that many. 38-inch vertical, though, and that burst score. When I think about Audric Estime, I'm not super excited. I was a little bit more excited, but I'm not super excited. But when I think about the process, one thing I want to go back over the tape, which I will. I do it every week right before I do the running back rankings. When I do that video, all those players, I went back over the tape a couple games, glossed back over the metrics, the PFF metrics. I do that for me actually to force me to go back all over this stuff again every single week, and I readjust off guts live on the video. It's not live on a live stream, but it's live on video. But so I'm going to be forced to go over the tape, but I'm probably going to go over the tape twice this week. One, because I'm intrigued by him more, and two, I have to due to that process. That forces me to go over the tape again on those players. That being said, I'm looking at Audric Estime. And if I have to look at these numbers, knowing what I know from in-season, from the tape studies and everything else, and say I do not have time to go over tape in that realm of light, I would say that team fit, where he goes in the draft, how the NFL values him is going to be huge, like it does with most running backs. But when you have this weird set in the numbers, this bad burst score, this bad speed score, good burst score, I mean, that 38-inch vertical, that's almost double Keon Butte. That's a funny joke, right? That's about Keon Butte was 20. That's not double, but it's like that's a good joke. But that's immensely higher than a lot of other guys. Audric Estime, I want to go over the tape again for sure, and I'm going to do that twice because I have to. I might do that tonight. But honestly, it may not matter. The NFL is going to have to tell me what to do with him. And draft capital is going to matter a lot. And that's not me being wishy-washy. Again, it's the running back position. Just getting touches and workloads is what matters the most. Again, resume matters leading up to that. But the NFL looks at that, and they'll tell us. Marshawn Lloyd, I talked about him. Looked good catching passes out of the backfield. Dylan Johnson had that foot issue, right? Runs a 4.68. That foot issue, how much of that affected the 40 here? How much of that affected these numbers? Why'd you run? Like, he's not the fastest guy. Yep. Estime an interesting case. I got to verify something here to continue my TikTok stream. There we go. That's weird. I don't know how many people are watching. I imagine I've had a few hundred on that one. Dylan Johnson catches the ball out of the backfield, though. 217. Yeah, and he's an Estime. Had those long runs, too, with Notre Dame. He's also got a good collection of them on the PFF metrics. And then Braylon Allen. Going back to him. So going back to Braylon Allen. So he's another interesting case, right? You look at his 2023 tape, and you're like, But really, he hopped onto the scene as a freshman and that sophomore season. He was playing with injuries this year. He was hurt in a lot of games he played, and he was playing through it. And that affected him. Whether he'll say it or not, I wouldn't say it. If I was him. I'd just own up to it. I imagine a lot of these players would be like that as well. But Braylon Allen is another case study there. A young prospect, 20.1 years old. Very productive early in his career. If you remember social media 2 years ago, freshman season, people were very excited about him. And he was up there in the Devy rankings. He was up there pretty high in the Devy rankings during that time. A lot of people were talking him up. I would have to dig up old tweets. I don't really do that. I just go off memory. And a lot of people were talking him up. Braylon Allen has a ton of... Braylon Allen's an interesting case. It's the case of 2023 tape versus 2022 and 2021. If you live in the 2023 tape and you reverse back to 2022, 2021, you could surprise us a bit when he gets to the NFL level. And the NFL could surprise us a bit where they draft him at. He gets rolling. He can get rolling, though. Wisconsin opens up them holes. He hits it. He can get rolling at the top end. That's the thing about him. His pass catching prowess leans to caution. I understand those numbers went up this year, but again, it was a change in the offense. That part of that's by default. Look at that freshman running back they picked up. I think it's Dylan Jones. It's with one L. Dylan Jones, Dylan Johnson, Dylan Jones. Yeah, Dylan Jones. Dylan Jones, not Johnson. Dylan Jones with one L. I look for him to step in and be productive. Look at Dylan Jones. We covered him on the channel. Look for him out of Wisconsin to be productive soon. This year, next year. Somewhere soon. Next 2 years. Definitely could see that. He looks like a Wisconsin running back. Very solid between the tackles. I look for him to be productive with that team soon. Very soon. I just see it happening. They picked up a nasty offensive lineman in the recruiting spectrum at 4-star. Top end 4-star. Let's just call it that. Maybe 5-star. His dad follows me on Twitter. But his highlight tape, I forget his name. My phone's up there because I'm streaming on TikTok. Oh, my God. This guy annihilated basic high school kids left and right. And if you want to see violence on the football field, you watch his huddle tape. You watch his senior year. I actually covered a little bit on Twitter. I did cover it on the channel. Just look for the Wisconsin offensive lineman that I covered. You'll have fun with that one. Just fast forward to the highlights. You'll have fun with that one. But he's a big nasty. There was another big nasty, too, that I covered right around him. But he stands out because his tape was funny. He obliterated this guy, right? He obliterated this guy on tape. He was pulling. He was pulling down to the other end of the line. He is racking up full speed. He hits this defensive end, maybe outside linebacker, maybe even a corner. He hits this guy so hard his body folds up, and then he does a Shooter McGavin. He does like little dances after he murks a guy. This is my favorite football player. I don't know his name. I don't remember. It's about midnight or something right now. It is 11:57. He's my favorite player. Go look him up. He's on the channel. I covered him. Let's get back to the numbers here. I think we about got this running back class wrapped up for the night. I wish Will Shipley ran. For me, I wish Will Shipley ran at the combine. 5'11", 206, 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He was the first high school player I covered on the channel doing highlights. And back then in high school, they were putting him out in the slot. He was running routes. He can run routes. He looked good at Clemson. He's a guy that can use a lot of phases, catch the ball in the backfield. He's got that profile where you can see him being decent at fantasy, especially in the right system. Carves out that role. Definitely could see that. He's going to be cheap. He's going to be cheap in drafts. That's what I like about Will Shipley. He's going to be cheap in drafts. And I like cheap players. I like him with some prowess. I mean, we're at Clemson, good Power 5 school. We got some production. We're using the passing game. 5-star prospect. You don't want to live off the 5-star name, but also NFL teams kind of look at that. You still want to think about that. You don't want to be stuck in take clock with that. Cody Schrader got hurt. He got hurt. He pulled a hamstring or something. I didn't look too far into it. I don't know. He was very productive at Missouri at SEC level. 4.61. I'm just going to go back to the tape. I'm going to go back to that. Frank Gore Jr., I wish he showed a little bit more for me because I have some Devy shares. I saw the name Frank Gore. I'm in some deep Devy leagues. Of course, I'm going to get him when you're so far deep in a Devy draft that you're drafting high school kids anyways. I'm going to go with Frank Gore Jr. and just do that. I got him coming out of high school. I got him then. Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving. What do you guys think about Bucky Irving? Because numbers-wise, combine, just looking at the combine, not too good. However, when you look at the tape, you prospect him out, and you're like, kind of was thinking that anyways. I wasn't thinking of him burning the 40. I wasn't really thinking that was going to happen. Also, if you're on TikTok, you're watching, and you want to see the charts we're covering, just hit the YouTube link in my bio. You'll be able to see all the numbers. Free advanced metrics pretty much to look at on the channel. They're free anyways, but I got them put together to easily digest. Back to this with Bucky Irving. You go back to the tape and just start watching. You're like, it kind of makes sense. I wasn't expecting him to run a 4.3, low 4.4s anyways. 192 is thick enough. I like that he's using the passing game. That's what I like about him. He's using the passing game. We can split him out. I don't need him. Well, I would love it if he did to run into 4.3s. I just don't need that. I don't have to have it. Profile is kind of like a James Cookish. I don't really do comps. I think that's weird. But size, just athleticism, pass catching prowess, we kind of got that in his game. He's good between the tackles, very reliable. Again, it's the running back position too. So when you look at the running back position, I know I'm looking at two different cameras, but when you think about the running back position, you're not looking at running backs to get 30 carries anymore. You're not looking at them to get 25 carries anymore, even 20. You're splitting up the workload. Most of them get like 8 to 12 opportunities a game. If I see him in the mix for that, I see him with his profile, what we see on tape, what he's doing on the field at Oregon, what we saw there, being able to do that, get on the field, get some opportunities. Will that lean towards fantasy relevancy? Would we want that? Maybe. He's going to be cheaper. He's going to be cheaper in drafts. I guarantee you. A lot of people are going to look at the 4.55. His draft capital. Yeah, the Pac-12 defenses. And they're on so late at night, everyone's sleep through them. Then they have to catch up. And then in the mornings after you're trying to catch up on your Pac-12 ball, you're just sipping so many coffees, everything's just faster. I would go back to Franklin. Well, hold on. He's right here. It's a tab. You know how to do Excel, Bruce. It's late. So we go back to Franklin, though. 4.41. That's not too far off from a 4.39. And then we got a good burst score. He's all right. He's okay. He's a little light in the pants, though. He's a little bit light in the pants, but he's also cerebral. Very smart route runner. He's okay. He's not one of these guys up here, though. He didn't light it up. With his size, I'd like him to be around this range more. I would like a 4.3 something there. But he's okay. Bucky, though, when you watch the tape, it makes sense. Those numbers make sense to me. I like how he catches the ball in the backfield. PPR, it's fine. NFL-wise, just another running back that I'm having in my core. It'll be my pass-catching guy I'm looking at for my team, NFL-wise. Using them between the tackles a little bit. I'm having a mix of running backs. I'm trying to keep it cheap. You're going to catch him at a good cost now. Going to be a good price considering we have some other running backs jump in value. Considering that. Not too bad. Then you're looking at Blake Corum. Kind of in a similar boat. 5'8", 205. Killed the bench press, though. Killed the bench press. Kind of in a similar boat, though. 35.5-inch vert. Good speed score, though. 55 percentile average. Burst score. Don't have it because we don't have the broad. 35.5-inch. We were expecting that. That's the thing about Blake Corum. Part of his tape analysis is that he's not going to score from everywhere on the field. He's just a lunch pail running back who's very smart, good vision. He's going to find the hole. He's uber reliable. Coaches love reliability. That's probably why they didn't like me too much. Coaches love reliability. That's the thing about that. NFL coaches, oh, God. Oh, you know who would love him then? Arthur Smith. That's who would probably love him. Just a workhorse running back. Get you what's blocked. That's probably who would love him a lot. That being said, Blake Corum, though, he's going to get good draft capital still. That, not last year, but the year before, he was on fire. He hurt his knee. He was on fire, PFF-wise, number-wise. One of the best running backs in the country. Very productive. And he's thick. They got him at 5'8" here. He's like 5'7" and rounded up to 5'8". The BMI looking good. Looking at him with his shirt off, he's rocked up. I think when we look at Blake Corum, we got a guy here, right spot, right fit, like any other running back. I think the NFL still going to like him, and I think he tested to where we thought he was going to be at. I don't think he hurt his stock. The thing is, when I think about these running backs and they do that, they hit the expectations, and it's okay. The thing is, you didn't exceed expectations either. That's the devil's advocate. He didn't exceed expectations. The bench press looked good, but we knew that was going to happen. He didn't exceed expectations, but I'm not upset with it. I'm cool with it. I'm not really moving him around at all. But that's how I kind of think. Like, you hit expectations, good. Exceed expectations, great. Low on expectations, not so good. Ray Davis. He's at the Senior Bowl. People liked him a lot. 211 pounds. 4'5'2", which is okay. There's some people that like him a lot. There's some people that love them some Ray Davis. And you look at the burst score, for 53rd percentile, so we're there. We're there. 40 time looking good. 4.52 40. Speed score, all right. 70th percentile. He's going to be cheap. He's not rated as some of the top backs. So he's going to come at a good cost. That's actually going to go at a good cost in Dynasty rookie drafts. That's the thing about it. He's a guy that can go between the tackles. He's got some good contact balance. That could be a surprise guy out of this class. If we're looking for guys that could surprise us, it's got to be guys that we're not really thinking about a lot too. That's just right there. Right there. Ray Davis is kind of right there. Ray Davis there. If you're thinking about along those lines, you got to think of like, if someone's going to come out and sneak up on you and be productive. And the running backs can do that, especially when you got a weird running back class. I don't consider it, like, I wouldn't consider it a bad running back class. I would consider this mostly a weird running back class. That's how I categorize it. It's weird. Fit's going to matter huge here, but also we got some guys that can do some things that have red flags. There's a lot of running backs here that has some promising things in their profile that's got some red flags that you're looking at that could hinder them. But also they like Jalen right here. Not the greatest running back of all time. He's got some issues on tape. Not the best, but 5'11", 4.38, 210. We got a good burst score. We're looking at, who's that one running back? I haven't talked about him. I talked about him like an hour ago. Where's he at? Fuck, he ain't here. Jonathan Brooks. I don't know if he's right here because he didn't run because he's hurt. Jonathan Brooks, his big red flag to ACL. When we look at him tape, we look at the PFF metrics, we look at everything. We look at his receiving chops. Everything looking really good. Everything looking really good. We look at Braylon Allen. We look at his 2023 tape. Kind of scary, but we know he was playing hurt. We look at the 2021 tape, 2022 tape. We look at his age. We look at his frame. Cool. We look at the pass-catching metrics. We're not too excited. We look at Audric Estime. He had some big runs this year, had some big moments, very productive this year. Big, thick, bruising running back, good burst score, speed score. Speed score, not so fun. 4.71, 40-yard dash, not so fun. And that's going off of that. But we knew that coming in when we watched the tape. We knew that. We knew he wasn't a home run threat. But he also has some high MPH grades. He also had a lot of runs where he pulled away, or at least some long runs. at the college game. But again, you got to count for all that. Marshawn Lloyd wasn't the most productive running back, but 220 pounds, 4.46, good speed score. We're at the Senior Bowl. We're catching passes. We're looking good. We gained a lot of stock. What's up, Jamie? Nice seeing you on the stream. What's up? How you been? Just like I look at these running backs, like Trey Benson. A lot of people got him as RB1, but there's instances on his tape where the vision's not so good. But we're rocked up, we're jacked up, we're twitched up. 4.39 40-yard dash, 98th percentile speed score. Burst scores there. We got a lot of athleticism. And you see it on tape. You see it. You're excited about that. And honestly, if he hit to that tape, he'd be a lockdown RB1 in this class because of that. The thing is, I can sell you on these players. Yeah, I like him. I have Marshawn Lloyd, especially at value and cost. I like Marshawn Lloyd. And I think the wide receivers overshadowed the running backs a bit too, that people got kind of quiet on Lloyd, and some people started talking him up. And I'm starting to hear more chatter on the back end of the weekend compared to like early Saturday. But very interesting prospect. I think when I look at these players at this, like Will Shepley comes in as a 5-star recruit. Looks like he had a shit ton of upside coming into the college level. The Clemson offense, talking about that, DJU just shits the bed, doesn't look great. Clemson offense not looking good over the course of time, being slower, not what we're accustomed to from like the early 2010s or whatever, whenever like Watson and Watkins and all of them were there. Shipley comes in, doesn't really fire in top-end production numbers, but does just enough to where he's on your radar, catches passes. You go to high school tape. I covered that on the channel. High school tape was pretty on fire with him catching balls out of the backfield and also lining up in the slot and stuff. We got a little bit of thickness here at 206, 5'11". We didn't run. Selfishly, I wish that. But again, pass catching back, that could be a good asset to an NFL team. And like I keep going down these backs, and I can sell you on how a lot of these guys can hit. That's the story with this running back class. A lot of people look at this running back class and be like, it sucks. We heard that a lot coming in. It sucks. But also, devil's advocate to that, I can sell you on how everyone, not everyone, but a lot of the bigger names, a lot of the higher draft pick running backs can hit. Even Audric Esme, a lot of people low on him. I can sell that to you. I can sell Isaac Grando, Braylon Allen. Ray Day. I can also sell the red flags. I can definitely do that. That's the type of class this is. That's why fit matters. The depth chart matters. Pathway to opportunity, that matters for this class. Definitely does. Good running back class, though. Like, not the greatest. I mean, good in a weird way. It's a weird running back class. That's what you get. I like weird classes. I don't know if at the end of things, sometimes a class like this can be bad. It can be if they lean into the red flags, but they can also surprise us in some of these players as well. So looking at the upside, being open-minded with that's huge in this class. Dylan Johnson can catch passes out of the backfield. Dylan Johnson's good in the receiving game. I want PPR, definitely for sure. And really depends on the cost too. I might be in my drafts and I might be able to get both at certain price tags depending on how the board ran, depending on how the wide receivers are doing. Looking at the wide receivers, let's go there. There's just so many of them. But again, a lot of them, considering what people are saying about the running back class, the wide receivers is going to get soaked up quick in the first and second round of rookie drafts. It's going to get soaked up. You're going to get to the third round and really thinking about what you want in the third round. That third round you're going to catch some value in the third round. There's going to be some players that we're going to wish we drafted in the third round or that hit in the third round this year. There's also that second round of rookie drafts, a sweet spot. It's going to be hard to trade into that second round right now. It's going to be really hard from a macro perspective. The second round of rookie draft is so valuable right now, especially 201 to like 205, because you're going to get pretty much a first rounder there compared to other years. Like a first round wide receiver is probably going to fall. You're going to get a back end first roundish running back, top end second roundish running back type there. a running back that's got okay draft capital that might go into opportunities. When I think about these running backs, when I think about running backs anymore, I just think about them as like bodies getting touches and how likely will they get touches in this new role and whether they catch passes or not, then funnel to size adjusted athleticism. It's not as complex as I was thinking about them a few years ago. And then running backs, I'm not like, I just play money ball with them. Running backs a money ball position. I like to go cheap. I like to pick my spots. Roman Wilson in the second round. You know what? It was in one of my videos. I accidentally shot it twice and I couldn't post the second one because I already posted it once yesterday. That's a funny joke. But Roman Wilson, thinking about him, very underrated combine. I don't know if I talked about him yet, but very underrated combine. And the reason why is because all these guys up here hit. So Roman Wilson's stock just didn't go nuclear. And there was all these like biblical legends about him running in like the early 4.3s, going to set records, all this stuff. I think a 4.39 is what we needed. I think a 4.39 is perfect because if he went over the moon and ran like what the legend said and ran like a 4.31 or something like that, something crazy, his stock would have went too high. You want his stock not to go too high if you like him. You want to be able to leave your draft with a Brian Thomas and a Roman Wilson, or that RB1 who gets drafted high and Roman Wilson if you want him. You want to be able to do that. You don't want the player you like to blow up the combine so much that everybody wants them. You don't want that. You want your wide receiver to run in the 4.4s, get their time adjusted to 4.39, and you want them to go in the second round. You don't want them elevated to the first. You want them to be low key. I think he had a good combine. It's just everyone's talking about everybody else. And that's okay. Xavier Worthy stole the show. He can have his flowers and stuff like that. I think Roman Wilson, right spot, could be a big hitter. There's a lot of good, interesting. You like Thomas? I like Thomas. I like Thomas a lot. I love his release. I love his burst coming off the line of scrimmage, how he can get on the heels. I like this wide receiver class. I like too many of them. I got to start finding ways to not like these wide receivers. That's my big problem. That's my big problem with the wide receivers. I got to figure out how to not like some of these guys. That's my problem. Yeah. It's very interesting. I think sometimes like it gets so late in the day. Like I've heard reports with other combines where those drills a lot of players opt out of. It's just so late in the day that you just feel tighter. Like you went through all those events and stuff, and like you just feel tighter. You don't want to pull something. You hit your 4.39 official time. You feel good. You feel like your stock's good. You had good interviews, and then that whole day. That's a long day. You ran the 40. You did all that. You got your body hot. Then you got to cool down. Now you get yourself going again. I can definitely see why some players don't do the shuttle and 3 count at the back half of that day. And there are some combines, especially when they were running it later at night. That one time in like the middle of the week, they were running it later. About 90% of the wide receivers didn't do the 3 count because of that. I can definitely see it, like if he was feeling tight or whatever, not doing it. I can definitely see that. I also didn't do the vertical or broad jet. At least my spreadsheet doesn't have those numbers. I don't have all the metrics here. But yeah, Worthy might jump the shark in ADP or it's a weird class, so he might go in that middle part of the first round too. That's the thing about it. He may not go too high. That's the thing, but it looks like he's locked in there for the first round. Really depends on what the running backs do too. I think one at least go in the first round, that first or second running back selected if they go into a great situation. That's for sure. But I'm looking at this Like, there's not really a wide receiver I don't like. Is there a wide receiver you don't like? There's not. I mean, there's the smaller named guys, I guess. I guess. And then when we're talking about the big three wide receivers, I don't hate them. I don't hate anybody who has a weird opinion about Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. or Rome Odunze. Say if they had Rome Odunze at wide receiver 1, Neighbors at 2, or Harrison. So you can have whatever you want. I'm cool with it. They're all good wide receivers. I think odds-wise, I'm with Harrison Jr. and Neighbors, definitely. Yeah, so live stream-wise, I was doing every Sunday morning in season because right before the games, I just got fast internet in October. I've been producing all this content on really slow internet from AT&T. I live out in the country in the middle of nowhere. And then I got Starlink internet in October. And then back half the season, I played around with some streams. I did a few in the middle of the week in season. But I did a lot of them Sunday mornings right before the game started. And then it got to the point where those streams would last until like the first quarter of the 1 o'clock games. And then there was a week or two where I missed some lineups because of that, but it was all good. It was all good. And then this is my first off-season stream that worked. I tried about 2 weeks ago to do a stream off OBS. And I was going to do something like this on my OBS. But like the timing with how I was talking versus how the chats were coming in and how things were flowing, there was a lag there. And I didn't want to mess with OBS anymore because it can be a hassle. And I didn't want to keep making streams and then it messing up. So I decided to go with StreamYard and roll with that. I'll probably pay for a subscription for StreamYard so I can get better quality, so I can get to 1080p, have more options, be able to stream for more time. I think I only get so many hours a week to stream on the free version. I don't know. But I also wanted to make sure it worked well with my internet and all that stuff. Prior, StreamYard would not work with my old internet. I could not stream off of that. It wouldn't work. It wasn't possible. I'd join some podcasts every time I'd come out. Every time. It'd be my fault. I'd have to stream off my phone. I'd do the podcast with my phone internet. Every single time. Everybody wanted to use StreamYard. Let's see here. Skeptical on Dunze. I'm okay with him. I'm not super over the moon, but I'm okay with him. I like him. The thing about Dunze is he got too cool for school for me, and everybody liked him. I liked him more in season because he was kind of flying under the radar early part of the season, and then people started liking him, and then we got to the off season. I was like, well, I'll let everybody else talk about him, and then I moved on. Would I trade away the 108 and 110 for the 104 to get Neighbors? So basically Franklin and Thomas for Neighbors. Yeah, I'd do that. I would definitely do that. I think Neighbors, once you draft him, even if, like, say he doesn't hit, I think he's going to hold that dynasty value to where in startup draft value and trade value for veterans that you can get more than the 108 and 110 for him. I think he's going to hold that. What's up, buddy? But yeah, I think Neighbors. I was calling him Neighbors earlier in the season, so I got jacked up. But I think his value is just going to be that much higher. Rome Odunze, Jamar Chase. I'm not going to hate it. I'm not going to hate it. He gets downfield. He makes plays happen. He tremendous ball skills, gets down there. I'm not going to hate it. I can definitely see that. I'm not going to argue it. I'm open-minded to that. I think Jamar Chase, different breed compared to a lot of wide receivers. But Rome Odunze, I don't hate him. I like him a lot. I liked him before it was cool. And then it got cool to like him. And then it was like, I got to talk about other players. I'm open to Rome Odunze. Very open to him. I like this wide receiver class too much. My problem is I like too many wide receivers, and I know that's not going to work out in real life. Yeah. He should be in the top 10 pretty easy. He should already be there. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. should be pushing top 3-ish, 5-ish pretty easy. Value-wise, And that's going to be there in ADP soon. That's going to be there. And I think Neighbor, I keep messing that up, but Neighbors should be pushing Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. And I think for that, that's a discount. I think when you get a top tier player like that, one of those three, one of those two, whichever, however you want to spin it, it's better just to pay now, eat the pain now, because if they remotely touch that upside, you're looking at one of those players. Yeah, JSN. I think in that class, I would have Rome Odunze as the wide receiver 1 with Jordan Addison as a pivot if you wanted something more. Because Jordan Addison got Kenny Pickett drafted in the first round. Jordan Addison broke out with 2 teams pretty much. Jordan Addison was safer than JSN. JSN, though, had that year off and then started the season hurt. So he's also in a situation where you got Metcalf, you got Lockett, you also got weird volumes in the offense. The ADOT's low, but that's just how he kind of fits in the offense. I imagine once he's the second wide receiver, once Lockett is removed or whatever happens with that long term, they may roll with 3 for a long time. I imagine that ADOT's going to go up. I imagine he's going to – I could see him being a cheap buy right now. Yeah, I saw the double catches. I saw the double catches on the gauntlet. I was watching some of those highlights of that earlier, actually. Yeah, definitely saw that. That was funny. Who else? We were making fun of a couple other wide receivers that had some issues. I forget. Like Adonai Mitchell had a couple routes where he kind of slowed up. It looks like he ran his 40, he cashed out there on some of his routes. I don't hate on it though. Don't hate on it. Yeah, he tested around 20-some miles per hour on the gauntlet. Looked solid there. Actually tested very well in the burst score. Where is that here? Burst score there, 82 percentile, 38 vertical, 10.7 broad. Speed score down, right around there, 4.61. Okay. Burst score is good. Size is good, though, 6'4", 215. And then what really the data-wise, if you want me to talk about him, it's more like to go to over here. And we go to Keon Coleman there. We broke out at age 19 at Michigan State. Looking good there. Then we come to Florida State initially. We had that game against LSU. We showed some ball skills there. Everybody immediately starts calling him a first-round pick because he transitions quickly to Florida State. We have some run there. Not uber productive. Finished the year with an 18.69% market share. That looks good. Like he's got some red flags to his game, and it's more on the separation part. But also, like, you can honestly, when you hear me talk versus other people, though, I'm kind of like down the middle with him because I believe he can separate. It's just not there all the time. And mainly because you got to go back, you look at his size. I mean, he's 6'4", and it's not really his game. It's just not his game, and that's not his fit for the game. He's a bigger wide receiver with good ball skills. Where is he at? Right down here. I mean, 6'4", 215. So physics says he's not going to separate incredibly well because of that. So he does that. He can separate. He can break off routes. He has good bend. He's shown that on some cases. Definitely seen it. So it is there. He's got good hands, good ball skills. I think right fit, and you're jumping him up the rankings. And this ain't rankings. This is just I don't even know how I got this sorted anymore. I've been talking about this so long, but. Right fit, you're jumping him up. A mid fit, you're kind of like, yeah, I'll take him at cost. And then a bad fit where he's got a quarterback that's not going to push it downfield that you might be a little concerned. But I think there's upside here still. Coleman keeps falling in my ranks. Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. I'm very Bayesian. I have him in a spot. Well, I do tiers. And I'm going off the visual in my head because I do the cheers on the channel. And I have him like down here-ish. And then I talk about him a lot. And he's one of those players that good fit, he's going up, down fit. Like if I've done this for so long where I can peg out a player like, hey, he's going to burn you if he goes to a good fit. Why don't you just put that in the profile? You talk it up a bit. So if he goes a good fit, because he does have something that a lot of wide receivers didn't have in last year's class, that's size and ball skills. And once we got through those top wide receivers in the first round, we saw teams it was just the wide receiver from Carolina who got drafted early second. He had some size. And then it was Tillman to the Browns. But there wasn't many wide receivers on the top end with draft capital with like big size. And if teams want that anchor, and it kind of proved it with Mingo paying up for him, even though he had a good combine, that they are still interested in that to some degree. So good size, good draft capital, which could potentially be there, could lend you to booing him up. But also that if it's just okay draft capital, just an okay situation, and we have a lot of good wide receivers here. What am I doing? I messed that up. There. So you got a lot of good wide receivers here. That's going to dilute them down a bit. Like it's a good class. But at cost, you may want them still. Probably going to end up in the top end of the second roundish of rookie drafts. He's already there. He's already there, and people soured. I mean, I've seen him go at 201 in a lot of mock drafts. I cover a lot of mock drafts. His ADP is like 201-ish. Say he goes 204, 205, 206. I mean, it's a good draft. Let's see, there's one before you. Navers 43 is just LOL. 43% market share. Yeah, that was a high market share. I'm hoping the Bills can snag Keon 80, Keon Coleman 80, or Brian Thomas. Yeah. So for the Bills, if you guys can land Brian Thomas, I think that's going to be huge for you guys. 80 would be a good fit. Keon would be a good fit too. You could probably, imagine getting Keon and one of those other guys too. But the speed of Brian Thomas and 80 and Allen pushing it downfield, that would be a perfect fit. Plus the air yards involved. You're getting a big upgrade over Gabe Davis. That being said, I think that's a great fit for all three of those guys. I don't see – I've talked to some Texans fans, and they're not really into paying up for a wide receiver. I think the injuries hit them last year, and they're going to want some depth. I think some of these teams are going to look at this depth at this wide receiver class and feel like, hey, we can catch something on day 3 to add some depth to our team. The fact that they got 2 hitters there at wide receiver, and I imagine Nico's going to be there for a bit. I don't see them why they wouldn't want Nico Collins for a long time to re-sign him for a long deal, or at least for another deal for a few more years. I think as a wide receiver 3 there, I would not be – I mean, you would think C.J. Stroud pushing it downfield. He'll probably have some games where attrition happens. He'll get his opportunity and flash a bit, and that might be like year 1, year 2, whatever happens. Thinking of target share-wise, how's Tank not going to get a 20% target share? And Nico Collins not going to get a 20%. There's 40% plus targets wrapped up in those two guys. It's going to be really hard for him to be consistent game to game. They can do it. I believe in Stroud because he can push it down the field with accuracy. I think Stroud's a good fit for him quarterback-wise because he'll throw it downfield with accuracy. He's got some balls to throw it in the windows. He's going to need a quarterback that does that. That's a good fit for him. I think volume-wise, it might need some attrition for that to happen because I'm not taking away targets from Tank for him or even Nico. But if he shows promise and they don't want to pay up on Nico, or if they want to move on, or they feel like they got a cheaper asset, they may want to do that. Johnny Wilson converting to tight end. Now we're talking. I wish. If I had a Christmas list of this draft, I wish. That's what I would want. Like Johnny Wilson going to tight end. That would make this, first off, that gets us another name out of this wide receiver pool that will confuse us because he did well at the combine. We got linked here. Definitely see why an NFL team would want him. And that size and length at the wide receiver position could just allow him to insert himself good enough into a depth chart where you may want him in fantasy, but for the tight end spot, that would be money. That would be the ultimate. I would bump him up so much. I would have to think about the tight end rankings. I did not collect the data on them yet. I threw this together. Yeah, I'll come back to that one. But with Johnny Wilson, I would love it if he went tight end. I do know at the combine there was some dialogue around that with him, talking about him moving to tight end. I saw the tweet about it. I do not know how reliable it was, or this media person, the validity of that. But they were talking about position changes. Him to tight end. Malachi Corley, something about him and running back. There was somebody else, something else, but those were two that really stands out. It's like, what, 1 something right now? 12:36. So my brain's a little fried. But Johnny Wilson at tight end would be a big deal. 17% target share for the wide receiver 3. That makes sense in my head, especially with them. Probably pushing 45 to 50% of the targets, 40% on the low. Tank is getting his target. Nico's soaking up air yards. Again, like if I have Keon Coleman, I'm pushing him downfield for air yards as well because I want that big body and those ball skills getting that, especially in the goal line as well. He might be a touchdown magnet as well in that situation. And I think in that situation, he'll have splash games due to the nature of the offense. Due to the volume, it being sprayed downfield, the ball being sprayed downfield with air yards, plenty of air yards going on. Last year, we saw some attrition at the wide receiver spot. We know that's going to be in the back of their mind on draft day and through free agency. Just Noah Brown was hurt. Woods was hurt a bit. Nico Collins was hurt. Tank Dell was hurt. And it was all like off and on throughout the season. Just a bunch of differences. They're going to look for some kind of patch-up job for that. Thinking of other wide receivers that could go there too. You got to think of that. I do not think it's any of the top-end guys. I don't think any of the first-rounders. That's a good question. Dulcich and the Broncos. Sanders. Really depends on the offense. And really depends on with tight end, it's a weird position. It's also depending if it's premium or if it's because it's a onesie position. I think we've seen a lot with Dulcich. That rookie season, though, was pretty good. Really depends on how they switch out that quarterback position. Also, what they get in there. And then we're looking at Sanders. If he goes to a team in a prominent offense, I'll lean into that, but I'm not going to pay up for it in rookie drafts because there's so many good wide receivers. Like, I'm going to make sure the wide receiver well is tapped out first. I would take the cheaper option between the two. Right now, I might just go with the newer option with Sanders. It's kind of a push. Sanders goes in a great situation. I did not turn off that light. But if Sanders goes in a tremendous situation, yes. But with Sanders, I'm not over the moon either. I don't see myself getting a lot of shares with him in drafts. I look for me to be pounding the wide receiver position, taking out some of that run of the running backs in the second round. I look for someone to be drafting him in the second round, early third, and me still trying to get wide receivers and maybe that last tier running backs. I think him versus Dulcich kind of a push. I think Sanders got to go to a good situation. I do like Dulcich. I think that the situation's not helping him too much, but I like him as a prospect and player. I like him. I think he's a better player. I think coming out that rookie season looking good, I think he's a cheap upside. Yeah, I think you can buy him for that. And I think that's a cheaper price tag than what Sanders is going to be. So, honestly, I would do that. And then where Sanders is going to be at in drafts, I'd rather just keep pounding the wide receivers and running backs too, because the running backs, like you think about it, you're in the second round of rookie drafts, right? And we're looking at these running backs and we're like, all right, because it's running back position, just look at it from a macroeconomic standpoint. There's a lot of attrition at the running back position. Running backs get plugged in and plugged out throughout the season due to that. We got this running back class here that's very weird. Look at these names. A lot of them have characteristics to where they can hit, and all of them have their red flags. It's a weird class. I identify them as a weird class. And say attrition hits, they get the opportunity year one, early year two. You're going to want that running back, and it's kind of like a Rochambeau effect with the running backs. And then you got the wide receivers where there's so many good ones. It's like a lottery because some of those guys in the second round are going to exceed expectations. Also, a lot of them, they're back there in the second round for a reason too. They're the last of the Mohicans of the good wide receivers. I haven't seen any running backs in first round, but there's 5 going in the second. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of runs at the running back position in second round. I haven't seen many mock drafts since the combine. I've seen some drafts where like one random running back goes, and I think that's just that ancillary running back that you feel like that's going to happen. I like Jalen Wright's upside. I like his size-adjusted athleticism. I want to see what the NFL thinks of him. I think the NFL likes him more now. I think the NFL does like him more now. I think he might be getting drafted in day 2, and I think that's highly likely. I think what the NFL likes about this class is there's a bunch of cheap running backs that they can use as bodies to soak up carries. They're going to use them for a year or two, and then they're going to move on and get more running backs in. I think if you look at it with that mindset, I think if he can get to a spot where there's a pathway to opportunity with that size-adjusted athleticism, and I'm really looking for pathways of opportunities for these running backs, I think that's going to be a big notion to fantasy production. I'm looking at that. And I'm also looking at their traits of how they excel in those opportunities and how they mesh. I think that size-adjusted athleticism in the right spot could lend to being productive. I think value-wise, you're looking at a second-round pick in rookie drafts, especially right now when I'm looking at these players. And it really depends if he gets that day 2 draft capital and if he goes to a great landing spot. If the landing spot's supreme, like one of those top spots, like Dallas, something like that. He'll go that running back that goes to Dallas. I can't see them not drafting a running back. I do know they want to be cheap at the running back position. I do have that feeling. I don't know. It's not like I'm hanging out with them or anything, but I feel like they're going to want to be cheap. They're probably selecting a running back in the class. If it's a running back we kind of like, if it's decent draft capital, that running back's shooting up. We're going to have one in the first round. We got a lot of options here. I think he's going to be good. I like Roschon Johnson in this class. He'd be a good fit in this class. I think he'd stand out a lot more in this class than last year's class. Yeah, Dylan Johnson. What I like about his combine is that he didn't go off in it and that you still catch him at a discount. If we're looking at running backs to go in the latter rounds, you want one that's bigger, 217, and can catch passes out of the backfield. Because that's what you want in fantasy is guys that can catch passes out of the back. Once you get to the 4th round, you're looking for that one trick out of your running back that can get you production, honestly. You're looking for that one trick. Catching passes out of the backfield is huge in fantasy. Having size along with that means that you can stay on the field. You're going to be used between the tackles. And he also can be used catching passes out of the backfield, which is huge. Those that are on TikTok, if you jump in my live stream on YouTube, you'll be able to see the spreadsheets that we're covering on the channel. We're going over those, the advanced analytics from the combine. You can get a good look at those. Sinan. Let me see here. I don't know if I got those numbers on him on here. Hold up. Let me look something up on Sinan. That's a good question. Ben Sinan combine profile. 5'9", There we go. Let's just pull him up. Kansas State, 6'4". Senior. Got a 4.68 at 250. That's solid. Look at him run the 40. Look at him go. 4.68. I think he's going to be a cheap prospect in drafts. Athletic F tight end with the ability to add. What's he got? Does he got a comp? No. What's he got here as a score? Average backup, special teamer. I think a flyer in the back end of your drafts. Maybe a guy you even pick up off waivers, depending on how deep your draft is. I know I got some that's just 4 rounds, and this wide receiver class is deep. So I'm going with the wide receiver and running back classes until that pool ends, and I'm looking at the tight ends depending on their spot. What I see here from the metrics too, I love the vertical. I love the athleticism for the spot. I think there's some upside here. I think great fit could lend him to land in 4th and 3rd round for sure. Also, just look at him. Just look at his build there. Nice length. I better get off that just in case I get caught for copyright and I'd kill the whole video. 20th round flyer. Yeah, I'd look at him as a flyer. Which I don't hate flyers. I can't hate a flyer. But looking at this class, I got the strategy is I'm going to tap those wide receivers dry. I lean into the strength of the draft. The thing is with tight end position, I hope you got it last year. Hope you got one of those tight ends last year. And I'm leaning into the strength of the draft like I always do. I think I say that every year. And I just go hard in the paint to the strength of the draft. Really, when I do that, though, sometimes that'll cause you to mess up and miss like that rando player that hits. Like, there's going to be a running back in the later rounds that does something. We just got to figure out that skeleton key player to figure that out. But I'm going to really work through the wide receivers. Most of them I got too many I like. That's a problem. Too many wide receivers that I like. That being said, overall, I'm very excited for this class. It is about 1 o'clock, and I'm going to jump off here. I want to thank you guys for watching. I got to get some sleep. I'm going to shoot out some videos tomorrow. High school recruits, and I'm probably going to look at something for the rookies. Either doing some ranks. I might add in 3 wide receivers to the wide receiver ranks, some randos, just 3 randoms. I'm probably just going to close my eyes and pick 3 wide receivers. If you guys have any requests, and if I can see it on a wide receiver that I didn't rank last week, or you think I didn't rank, if you didn't watch it, let me know. I'll see if I can see it. Sometimes in the comments I don't see them because I have older videos, and I see the top 3 recent comments in the app, on the studio app. And if you ask something, I won't see it. But if I see it, I'll add them in. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Toronto Dave, have a good night. Jamie, have a good night. Brixton, have a good night. Everybody else, have a good night. Thank you guys. I'll catch you guys on the next stream. I'll try and do this more often. StreamYard worked pretty well, so I'll do this more often. Thank you guys. I'll catch you guys next time.